Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me. So today I want to share something with you that will hopefully encourage you. I have a personal story that I want to share with you guys. A story that shows you that when you're going through something in your life, when you're waiting and you're going through pain, that God always has a purpose for it. So about 4 years ago, I was having an issue in my upper right abdomen, and I was having pain. And I went to the doctors over a span of time. I had different things done, CAT scans and things like that, and about a year and a half had gone by, and I kind of just gave up on finding what was going on. So it got to the point where it got really bad, and I went back to the doctors again, and they decided to give me a HIDA scan, and I had all these things happen, and it turned out that I had a low ejection fraction, which means that I wasn't processing fat correctly. And so I looked it up, I did some research, and I decided to wait. I decided that I could wait on it. And then at this point, I was having really bad agoraphobia and anxiety, and I had trouble leaving the house. So going to the doctors was extremely hard for me at this point. And so it got really bad. And I wound up going to the doctors. And after they had given me that HIDA scan, the initial HIDA scan, I didn't go back to him because, like I said, I figured that I would just kind of go the natural route and try to heal my gallbladder myself. So a few months goes by, and I am in immense pain, like a really, really a large amount of pain. I couldn't eat anything. Every time I ate, I was in so much pain. And so I knew that I had to go to the hospital, but I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go because I was afraid. I was afraid to leave the house. And so I kind of put it off for a week and a half or so. And a little backstory, the previous doctor had given me antibiotics. The one from the previous 2 months, he gave me antibiotics. And when he gave me the antibiotics, I had them filled, but I never took them. And so at this point, I'm in so much pain, and my head is starting to hurt, and everything is starting to hurt me immensely bad. And so I decide to take those antibiotics that I had gotten 2 months ago, because I'm like, maybe I have an infection from whatever is going on. So I start taking them, and I still had about 4 days left on those antibiotics. And at that point, I was, like I said, in so much pain. My husband also wanted me to go to the hospital. I'm like, I can't go. I'm too afraid. And so finally, I was in so much pain. I get in the car and I start going, and I'm like, when I get there, I'm not going to be able to go in anyways. There is no point to doing this. So I pull up, sit in the car. Again, didn't want to go in. I start walking towards the front door. And as I'm walking towards the front door, I hear 2 different times, turn back, leave. Like telling me to leave, like, don't go in, just leave, just turn back. And I know that it wasn't God. I know that it was my fear. I was just so afraid. I didn't want to face anybody. I didn't want to go to the doctors. I didn't want to deal with anybody. And so that happened twice, but then God was giving me the strength to go in. So I go in, I sit down, and I tell the lady that I want to check in. And I had asked her because I wanted to leave. And so I was waiting for her to tell me that they were packed so that I could leave. And I told myself, I'm going to ask her if it's busy. And if it's busy, I'm going to leave, because this hospital is always packed, and I know it's going to be busy, and I'm just going to walk out. And so I said, is it packed? Is there a lot of people here? And she said, no, it's not too bad. And so I'm like, huh. So I went up staying, and they bring me to the back room. And I asked for them to just do blood work on me to see if I have an infection, because I didn't want to have to deal with staying there longer. And I said, can you just do the test? I don't really want any scans or anything. And she said, you have abdominal pain, so it's not possible. And so I go in, and they're running the tests on me. They had taken blood work, and he told me that he wanted to start antibiotics just in case. And so they did the blood work. They went to go do the ultrasound on me. And I hear this lady, after all, I'm by myself at this point. And I hear this lady, and she is weeping, and she is screaming, and she is crying. And she's talking about, I guess she had lost her daughter. And maybe previously, I don't know how long ago, but she was very distraught. And the hospital staff wasn't giving her much attention. I heard the lady telling the hospital staff what had happened, and she was crying. And I don't want to tell the whole story, obviously, because it's personal information. So I just know that it was not a good situation. And so I felt that I was supposed to go and help her. And I'm sitting there like, that's going to be hard because I have anxiety here, but I'm going to go ahead and do what God asked me to do. And so I'm like, I get up and I start walking. I'm like, I'm going to go to the bathroom first because I was so afraid, and I was kind of just trying to ground myself. So I'm like, maybe if I go to the bathroom, it'll like calm me down and I'll go talk to her. But as I'm going, I look to the side and I see her there by herself, and something's telling me to go to her now. And I'm like, okay. So I start walking over to the lady, And there's two other ladies that are next to her, like in a different room, but they're only separated by a curtain. And these two ladies are laughing. I don't know if they're laughing at her or what was going on, but they were laughing and they were staring at me the entire time I'm walking to the lady, which made me very uncomfortable. And so I walk over and I put my hand on her and I said a few words to her. And instantly she just calmed down as if she was okay. She was so chaotic at one point, but when I had told her um basically that Jesus was with her and I put my hand on her and she just like calmed down. It was like this peace came over her. And so I walked away and I went back to the room and I was grateful to God. And I'm like, if this is all that I came to the hospital for, God, then it's okay. And I'm grateful that he had used me and had the compassion that he had on her, that he wanted me to help her. And so a little bit goes by, they come back with the test results and they tell me that I have inflammation. Something is inflamed in my gallbladder duct, and I had to have surgery. So they wind up taking me to the back and giving me a room because I had to stay, and it was supposed to be a same-day surgery. And so I wound up being there for 3 whole days. And in those 3 days, I cried. I changed because I wanted to go home at one point. I couldn't take it anymore. I kept getting told things like the operating room is having issues. The doctor's running late, these types of things. And it happened. It was supposed to be the same day surgery. It wound up being 3 full days. And I remember, I was telling my husband I was crying and I was getting no sleep. The lady next to me, so in this hospital, they don't have separate rooms. So the lady next to me was snoring extremely loud and I could not sleep. And so here I am, anxious as could be, having the agoraphobia, not wanting to be around people, having somebody in my room who was snoring like crazy. And my husband wound up buying me some kind of lawnmower earmuffs so that I could put them on my ears. And I was so happy when he got them because after this, it was days of, I don't know if this was like the second or third day. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And so I was going through all of these things and I just kept begging the hospital staff, please give me a different room, please, because I wasn't sleeping. I was having problems. So the time had gone by and like I said, I almost went home. I had gotten dressed. I'm like, I can't take it anymore. Oh, and I was also having a reaction to the antibiotics they were giving me. Every time they would start putting them in my body, I would throw up. And I told them the first time and they're like, well, let's try it again. And I threw up again. And then finally they believed me because they're like, all right, well, it's happening at the same time every time. So it's the antibiotics. And then they took me off of them. So I stopped throwing up from that. And then, like I said, everything just kept piling on. I kept getting attacked. And every part of me wanted to go home. And I just, like I said, I had gotten dressed and I'm like, I just want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And so I got dressed and then I had talking to somebody who had come in saying, yeah, the doctor's definitely going to come today. So I wound up staying. Especially because my husband wanted me to stay because this was serious and I needed to get it done. They gave me another HIDA scan and they told me that it showed chronic inflammation. And so I had to get it out because she was telling me, what could happen. It could burst and, a lot of bad things that could happen from it. And so I decided to go ahead and stay, even though every part of me wanted to go home and everything was coming against me at this point. And I just wanted to leave. And so they had promised me that when I come out of surgery that they'll be putting me in a room that's by myself for that last day so that I can get some sleep. And so I wound up going to have that surgery that night. And again, instead of having it when I was supposed to, the doctor was late. Like I'm talking like hours and hours late. I'm sitting in the surgery room and he's so late. And I told him to tell my husband so he wasn't worried, because it was taking so long. And they go out there and they had told him and everything, and he was allowed to come in the back and wait with me. And so finally the doctor came and I'm like, I asked him why he was late and he just said he had so many surgeries going on. And he said, do you want to still have the surgery? Because at first I didn't, because I'm like, he took too long and I felt done at this point. And so I told him, I said, yeah, okay. And it was like really late. I don't remember how late it was, maybe 10, 11 p.m. It was late. And so he winds up doing the surgery on me. And then I didn't understand why I had so many things come against me, why it kept getting delayed. I was so stressed out, so frustrated. Like I didn't get it. Like I'm going through all of this and still I'm having all of these things come against me, wanting to leave. And so the next day had come and this was the day when I figured out why God had me wait so long. It wasn't to hurt me. It wasn't to make me upset. It wasn't to make me more anxious or to give me more agoraphobia. It wasn't to do anything against me, but it was for the compassion that he has on his children. So about 10 minutes, literally about 10 minutes before I leave and I was getting in the middle of getting ready to get discharged. I hear these people down the hallway, and they were mourning. I guess somebody was, they were trying to resuscitate him, and he was having issues. They were trying to bring him back, and long story short, like I said, I don't want to say everything, but long story short, he winds up passing away, and his daughter and his wife are in the room, and I'm like, I felt like I was supposed to go and pray for them. And I had just had gallbladder surgery and it did not feel good to walk. But I decided I would go ahead and walk anyway so I can go down the hall um and try to see if I can't pray for them. So I started walking down the hall. I went to my nurse and I said, "Is it okay if I go and pray?" And they told me to go ask somebody else. And so I start walking towards the front and I was walking back and forth and my gallbladder was hurting. I was in so much pain. But I'm kind of like trying to work up like what do I do? Like who do I ask? Do I ask again? Do I and so I walk towards the front, towards where there's the staff is. And apparently they were talking about, there was these two people that were talking there. I guess one of them was in charge and he was saying, we're short staffed and we don't have, with everything going on with COVID, we don't have anybody to come and basically pray with them. And so I'm like, all right, that's me. And so I walked up to them and I asked, is it okay? I said, I feel like God wants me to pray for them. Is it okay if I pray for them? And he said, there's the daughter. You can go ask her. So I went up to her. I asked her if I could pray and told her, I'm a patient here, and said, I just feel like on my heart to pray for you. I forgot exactly what I said. But so she says yes. And we go in the back room and I prayed and everything. And I felt like the prayer had given them some sort of peace. I know that obviously it was a difficult time and you can't fix whatever just happened, but you can be there for them and you can pray for them and you can help. And I felt that that is what God wanted me to do. And so I had left the room and everything. And a couple other things had happened. Like I talked to the staff and I said, yeah, I prayed with them. And then I said goodbye to the people who were in the room with the guy who had just passed away as well. And on my way out and I left and everything. And I had realized that all of this pain, all of these things that I had gone through these 3 days, I had cried my eyes out. I was stressed out. I couldn't sleep because the lady next to me, I couldn't sleep because she was snoring so much. All of these delays with the doctor, all of these things, all led up to a moment. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, so the same person who had given me the antibiotics, a few months prior, they called him, and because he was my original doctor and I had gone to him a few times for this issue and I had just seen him 2 months ago. And they called him and they told him that I need surgery and that my gallbladder was inflamed. And his response was, she never went to her follow-up, have somebody else do it. Do whoever's on call. And so I'm frustrated, like, wow, that was kind of rude. I've been to this person numerous times and they just blew me off because I didn't go to the follow-up. And so I didn't understand. All of these things kept coming against me. Why is this getting delayed? Why am I waiting so long? Why am I going through all of these things that make me want to leave? And it's like, in the end, God showed me it was because he loves us, because he has this compassion on us and he wants to help us. He wants to help each and every one of us. And if I had to go through that again, to where I had to wait and had all of these moments where I felt so much fear and I just wanted to leave. Like I said, this was towards the beginning, the height of when I had the anxiety. And so this was hard, it was hard even going into the hospital, let alone waiting there 3 days, and then having all these other things come against me with the antibiotics making me throw up and the snoring and the, all of these things. The doctor telling me he won't have to do the surgery on me, the delayed surgery, the issues with the surgical room. All of these things led up to me helping somebody who needed the help, somebody who wouldn't have gotten prayed for because, like I said, they were short-staffed and they didn't have the people there to pray for them. And so, like literally 10 minutes before that I leave, before I'm in the middle of getting ready to get discharged, and this happens. And if any of these things did not align the way that they had, if I had had the surgery sooner, if the doctor wasn't late that night, if any of these things, then I wouldn't have been there for that. And I am so grateful to God that he used me and that he had the compassion on those people and that he had the compassion on even the first lady as well, that he had the compassion on her and allowed me to be the one that helped her. And so I'm telling you guys this story so you know that sometimes when you're in this waiting period and you are stressed out and freaking out, like, God, you're making me wait too long. It's been, however long it's been, even if it's been years, or months or however long it's been, and you're like, God, I don't understand. Why are you making me wait this long? Why are you not allowing me to go through a door right now, an open door? Why is everything closing for me? And I've got to tell you that there's a purpose and there's a reason for it. Just like this story about what happened with me, there was a purpose and there was a reason for what God was doing. There was a purpose in the pain. And, sometimes it's hard to understand because we're going through that. Like I said, this was at the height of when I was dealing with this anxiety and this fear. And even stepping out the door was hard for me. But God, he brought me through it. And, like I said, I'm sitting there and I'm crying and I'm telling my husband, I just want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. And it was so stressful for me. And it was something that took a toll on me. But it was worth it because I got to see something so beautiful. And could you imagine if I had left? What would have happened if I would have left? If I would have left and when I had gotten dressed and I had changed out of the hospital clothes and I said I was leaving, what if I would have left? Number one, obviously, God had helped me from a situation where I could have died in because I was having this inflammation and it was chronic and it wasn't good and my ducts were inflamed. Something could have happened to me. So God was protecting me, as well as the fact that he was helping these other people who needed that compassion on them, who needed somebody to be there for them when there was nobody around that could have been there for them. And so God used me, and I'm so grateful that he did. And so I want to end here with just telling you that if you are in a waiting season, and if you are waiting, and if you are struggling with hanging on, and if you are struggling with thinking that God will ever come through, or maybe you believe God will come through, but you're just sick of waiting, it's like, God's going to come through. And I've been in these moments as well where God's going to come through. That he's going to fix the situation. And it's not a matter of believing that. It's a matter of knowing when it's going to happen. When is the hardest part? Because we sit there and we want it to be on our timing. And we're like, enough time has passed. How much longer, God? And like I said, it's not that you don't believe that he's going to come through, because you do. It's the fact of how long and how much longer. And I want to encourage you that there is always purpose in your wait. There's always purpose in the pain and in the things that you go through. And you may not see it now, but you will see it eventually, maybe on this side of life, maybe once you go to heaven and you're with Jesus and you get to see the reason for all of these things. But if you look at a story like mine and you look at the fact that these 3 days that I got held up and all of these things in between it, they all led to a specific moment and a specific purpose. They had a purpose. Like I said, it was to help me as well as others, and I'm grateful for that. And so, like I said, ending here with just saying, if you are waiting, do not give up. Trust God, no matter how long it's been. I know it's hard, even when you're trusting God and you know that he's going to come through, but it's that timing and it's that wait is so hard and so difficult. And I'm here to tell you, don't give up, because God knows what he's doing, and there's a purpose for everything. And the devil, he will try to deter you and push you away from what God's trying to do. Look at this story. How many times did I want to go home? I wanted to go home so many times. One time to the point where I changed and I was getting ready to leave. I could not take it anymore. I was so afraid. I was so scared. I was so fearful. And I just wanted to leave. And this was the devil trying to push me away because, number one, obviously he doesn't want me to be alive. I'm a child of God. Why would he want me alive? Why would he want me in this world to tell others about Jesus? And then on top of it, I'm also helping other people. And so not only would the devil want to take me out, but he wants to take me out so that I don't help others, So if you are going through something, know that the devil, he is going to come against you. He is going to try to deter you from doing the thing that God is asking you to do. And sometimes that means waiting. Sometimes God just asks us to wait and to be still and to know that he is God. And even when we don't understand what's going on, to not lean on that understanding and to know that God, his mind, he is infinite in his mind and we are finite. We don't really know the future. We don't know the things that are going to happen. Only God knows. And if we can learn to trust him and to know that he has a purpose in the pain, purpose in the waiting, no matter how long it's been, no matter how hard it is, know that he's going to have something really good come out of it. And that makes everything better. If we could just trust him and know that he will come through for us and that he does love you and he has a purpose and a plan for you. And also for others too, maybe it's to help somebody else. Maybe it's something for yourself, whatever the case is. God has a purpose in the pain always. And that's all that I have for today. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching.